Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's class. This should be good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Today's class, we're talking on the business of design, but then we're talking more on design presentation. We already have Andrews on the call. He's a product designer at Logisil Limited and is based in Greater Accra, Ghana. So thank you, Andrew, for coming on the call. Thank you for tonight's session.
Sure.
So,
Thank you very much
Andrew,
for having me. Yeah.
all right. So the class is all yours, so you can go ahead and teach. If there are any questions, I'll draw your attention to it.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. And so, guys, I'm Andy, Maka said, and it's great having you guys live on this call. So, yeah, today I'm going to be presenting on the business of design and then design presentation. Okay, so then initially I had wanted to wait a little bit for quite a lot of people to join, but I think we can get started with what we have now. Yeah. So, um, so yeah, when we say the business of design, um, my screen is sharing. So, okay. Yeah. So then, whenever the business of design is mentioned, right, or then whenever business is mentioned in the design field, we always get curious, right, and then we would always want to know why it matters. Why does business why should business have anything okay to do with design in any way? Why does it matter? Okay. So then one thing I think we should all come to grounds with, okay, is that businesses all over the world exist to serve customers. Like basically that is like the bottom line of why businesses are established. And then why these businesses are established is in hopes to offer value, okay, to customers in order to generate long term profit. Okay. And then one key thing that designers are responsible for, okay, in businesses is that design, the whole concept of design, sits at a junction where customer needs and business objectives meet to produce the goods that customers will ultimately pay for. Okay, so it's like you can think of it this way, that, more like a balanced scale, right? And then designers are in between, and then on one side there are customer needs, and then on one side there are business goals. So I'm going to be demonstrating more on this as I proceed. So over here, you can see clearly that one responsibility, okay, which has been handed hugely to us designers, is to ensure that um, design needs meet business objectives. Okay, so then the overlap of needs and objectives at the junction necessitates careful consideration towards two dependent yet distinct entities with different needs. Okay, so then this makes designing products a very high stakes responsibility, as it gives designers the capacity to help or else negatively affect the customers and then the business too. So what I have here, when someone reads the initial slide, it can be kind of daunting, as in designers will now begin to think, okay, such a huge responsibility has been heaped on our heads, and then how are we even going to go about balancing customer needs and ensuring that it meets business goals, and then at the end of the day, the company is going to make a lot of profit. So, as daunting as it may sound, to some extent, it is equally invigorating. That means it poses a lot of opportunities for designers to take advantage of. So in this case, when designers are able to ensure that their designs meet the needs of customers, it becomes a massive force multiplier of positive impact on the bottom line. Okay. So then in this diagram, this very simple diagram that I cooked up, you can see there's a scale, right? A balance scale. And then on one side of this scale, there are customers. Okay, so I want you to spend some time to critically analyze what is going on here. So on one side, there are customers. On the right side, there are stakeholders. And then in between lies the designer. That's probably you and I. That's why you are probably here watching the video. So you, the designer, are in between, and then you have to ensure that all your design decisions, all the products you design, all the uh, yes, all your design decisions that you make are supposed to ensure that customers are happy or satisfied, and then the investment business stakeholders make are worthwhile. So as designers, you don't go about probably in a way ensuring that customers are happy, because the business are investing so much that they tend to run at a loss. So for designers, that was why I mentioned earlier that the responsibility that has been heaved on us is so huge, because we have to find an equilibrium, an equilibrium whereby customer needs and business objectives are balanced. Okay. So then for this diagram as well, I'm going to be quickly throwing more light as to what money in means and money out also means. Okay. So with money in, right? Money in is simply, just think about it this way. Money in simply refers to money that is coming in from our customers. So even if you don't get anything out of this presentation, just understand that money in is money that comes from our customers, okay? And then satisfied customers who love to use our products, who download our products from the App Store or Play Store. And then money out simply refers to money that is being invested or pushed into by our stakeholders, our CEOs, our bosses, or whoever is investing money into our product. And then we the designers in between. Okay. So then once again, your role as a designer is to ensure that one side of this scale is not weighing the other. It has to be balanced to the extent that the product you are designing has to ensure that money from customers or our subscribers are coming in or are increasing as the day goes by. And then the money out or the money being pushed into the products from our investors are being minimalized. So you try your possible best to ensure that by conducting user research, I mean the whole design thinking process, okay, you ensure that the designs you are making are bringing money into the business and reducing the money being invested into the business. So as designers, like I said earlier, we have to find a balance to what this entails. So then David Fortelli, a very renowned designer, mentioned that everything designers produce affects the bottom line, either positively or negatively. However, designers don't need to be business gurus or accountants or economists or whatever to make contributions, to make positive contributions. They simply need to have the same curiosity around businesses that they have around customer experience. So the same way we UI UX designers or product designers are so enthusiastic about customer experience. Oh, we need to enhance user experience of our product. We need to make sure that users are subscribing more. To some extent, we have to be have a little bit of business acumen under our belt. We have to be business versed. That is, try as much as possible to understand the business impact that our designs are bringing to the table. Okay, so then we don't always have to jump straight to the drawing board and then make these cool and neat designs and just present them in hopes that the company is going to miraculously land customers. Okay, we always have to um, consider the business our designs are going to have. So, like I said, subsequently, I'm going to be um, revealing a particular scenario, right, whereby users, whereby a designer had an interaction with a stakeholder, and then the designer rushed, let me see, to make design decisions without conducting user research or without even considering the impact his design was going to have on that business. So the definition of the bottom line varies from project to project, but typically it boils down to money in, money out, and customer satisfaction. Like I said earlier, we have to find a way, we have to find a balance between money coming out from our customers and then money being invested into our products, and then ensuring that at the end of the day, our customers are very satisfied with the products we have designed or we claim to have designed as designers. So, needless to say, there should be many more times money in than out. And of course, money comes from happy customers who will pay for the products. So this goes to say that when designers spend time, okay, to design intuitive and clean products, we would not have to force users to download our product. We will not have to force users to engage with our product. They are going to subscribe to our product and pay for it because at the end of the day, the product is fulfilling a particular need of our users. Okay, and then the whole should I say point or reason why designers are even hired into these businesses is to ensure that money coming from customers are increasing. Okay, and then money being pushed into the business is minimalized. Okay, so over here, certain questions that could be asked around the office as designers whenever we think about money in, money out, and then customer satisfaction. So with money in, some interesting questions. Probably you can even jot these questions down, and then whenever your stakeholder comes to you and wants to probably ask you to design something, these are questions you can put out or you can probe to him in expectation of getting an answer. Okay. So you first ask, are customers gladly going to pay for this product you are designing? Be it an e-commerce app, a delivery app, a bike scheduling app, whatever it is. Will customers gladly pay for this? Which category of customers will buy this product? How much will customers pay for this product? And how often are customers likely to buy this? These are questions that are likely to spark up conversations between you and your CEO or your product manager or your or any stakeholders in the office. As for money out, which refers to money being invested, okay, into the product, what will it cost upfront to do this? So maybe your CEO might quote a figure like, well, it's going to take us probably $50,000 to successfully complete this project. What will it cost to run this product over a long term? What additional costs are going to be incurred due to this? Will the income generated from this justify the cost? That means that if your investors or your stakeholders are investing close to $20,000, they expect that at the end of the day, they are going to get higher returns on investment. That means the money customers are supposed to be bringing in, which in this case refers to money in, has to be significant because you don't expect stakeholders to invest an amount of money and then at the end of the day, they don't get a very good return on their investment. So, what is most important, right, as designers, is to figure ways to increase the money in, decrease the money out, and then keep our customers super happy. And with this, I know it may probably sound super impossible because you can't the happiness of your customers are not entirely in your hands. And with this perspective, having this mentality as a designer, that is, if I'm given a task to design a product, right, the goal I should have in mind is that this I'm doing is going to create value for the user, which in turn is going to bring more users to our platform, thereby increasing the money the business is gaining and decreasing the money being input by our stakeholders whilst keeping our customers super happy, right? I know this sounds pretty much impossible, but like this image I got here, probably by 2083, this should be, such an impossible task can only be performed by magicians. And I don't know, probably 60 years from now, we might have to probably turn into magicians before we could accomplish such tasks. That is increasing the money in by our customers, decreasing the money out by our stakeholders, and then keeping our customers super happy. Now to my next let me see, topic, which is understanding the business problem behind every design task. I know probably the designers on this call might agree that there may be countless times whereby they've been assigned tasks by their superiors, and then they actually think about these tasks and they feel, I mean, it's not worthwhile. Like, this is not something I feel I should be doing. But then, like I said, whenever you are given a task by a superior or a product manager or your CEO or whoever is in charge, you first of all have to consider the impact your design is going to have on the business. That should be your first design instinct before you rush to Figma or you start drawing wireframes or, I mean, something. There should be a serious brainstorming as to what the design is going to, the impact the design is going to have on the business. Okay. So sometimes, or majority of the time, right, designers may have to pull it out of the stakeholders' mouth because 99% of the time, trust me, these guys don't really know what they want. And it is only when the designer mans up, okay, to ask intelligent questions to force things out of the stakeholder's mouth. So you should not be so gullible to the extent that whenever you're given a task, you are like, okay, say, I'll be done in probably 2 days. No, the design you are going to design in Figma or whichever platform you use to design, what impact is it going to have on the business? Is it going to increase return on investment? Is it going to increase more sign ups? Is it going to increase more user engagements on the site? All these things have to be considered. It's not just about making pretty designs and nice and clean stuff, okay? So whatever the case may be, designers owe it to themselves to uncover the bottom line by asking good, intelligent questions around what matters most, which is at the end of the day, keeping our customers happy, whilst ensuring that it meets the business goals. So I'm going to be highlighting a very interesting scenario, okay, in my next slide. So this is a conversation, a very, let me see, very, very occurring conversation in our workplaces, whereby could have probably calls the designer to his office. So designer has a meeting with the stakeholder, they're in the office and he's like, so bro, we need a new landing page. Okay. And then designer at this point, being to some extent smart, asks in turn, okay, why do we need this new landing page? And then the stakeholder is like, we need more people to sign up. And then the designer goes, great. Why are more sign-ups so critical at this time? Then the stakeholder is like, customers aren't sticking with us lately, so we need new ones. The designer is pretty shocked. Really? Why not? Then the stakeholder says, we are not sure. Maybe, underlining maybe, which is a very dangerous and deadly mistake to make, that maybe our site could look more modern. He is basing his, let me say, assertion on some intuitive drive he had. Probably he woke up and he was like, see, let's just change our website. He does not have any factual basis on why the website has to be changed and what impact it is going to have on the business. So then the designer also goes like, how many customers are we losing and how is that affecting us? Then the stakeholder goes, almost half of our customers leave after a couple of days from signing up. At this rate, we are not sustainable. So I'm going to probably urge you guys to spend less than a minute to critically analyze this scenario, okay? Because what is going to unfold in the subsequent slides will be quite interesting with regards to finding the bottom line or the real problem behind why the company needs a landing page. So you can spend about less than a minute, probably 45 seconds or 43 seconds, to critically analyze the conversation between the designer and then the stakeholder. Okay, yeah, sure. Great. So after analyzing this scenario, right? Um, so it says the example above illustrates how designers may be handed a solution with no clear context around the business problem. Rushing to produce the solution without understanding the business problem would mean running the rat race once again. The stakeholder approaches the designer, gives him instructions. The designer, being so able, refuses to ask more probing questions and then goes straight to his design tool and makes a design, not knowing he could he could cause the downfall of the company by designing something which users may not like and thereby forcing users to even abandon the product. So the most interesting part about that scenario was, in the example, the business has a very serious problem in retaining customers. The way this affects the bottom line is that the business is spending money to acquire customers, but after acquiring them, they do not stick with the product. So the acquisition costs are barely recovered and additional costs must be incurred to survive. So in this scenario, the main problem with what the stakeholder wants the designer to do is that, fine, we actually have quite a number of users signing up to our platform. Okay, we have probably, let's say we have 50 users who have signed up to our platform. The problem over here is not the signing up, but rather the retaining of customers. So instead of jumping straight to design a solution to the problem, a very much more intelligent way, okay, which would be spelled out here, is that the designer may have designed a very fancy landing page, probably with some cool illustrations and interactions and animations, even with 3D animations or something. However, the problem doesn't appear to be around acquiring customers. The company is very okay with acquiring customers because users are actually signing up to the platform. But the main problem is that the users are not being retained. Therefore, a much smarter or effective approach the designer could have probably undertook, okay, was to provide more business value by finding out why customers are abandoning the product and not why customers are not signing up to the product. Customers are signing up, all right, but why are customers abandoning the product? So if the user should go straight ahead to his Adobe XD or Figma or Sketch design tool and then now comes up with a very cool landing page, the problem has 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 not been solved in any way. In fact, he has barely scratched the surface because that was not the main problem, and he did not take much time to understand the problem. Okay, then the major problem is that customers are abandoning a product to some extent. Yes, they successfully complete the sign up process, but they abandon the product after some time. So by finding out why customers are buying the product in the first place, so that something may be done to fix that. So adopting this approach, one, would help increase or improve customer satisfaction as the core problem would be addressed. Two, or secondly, it will cause an increase in revenue as customers will stay longer and spend more time on the product, or probably even recommend the product to their friends or to their peers. Okay. And thirdly, it is going to make the product more likely that future customers would stick and will be retained on the product. Okay. So if it's a website, if it's a mobile app, ensuring that you find a root cause why users are abandoning the product, why users are not being retained. Once this problem is fixed or secured, I mean, it serves as a future proof that likely customers or futuristic customers are going to be stuck on our platform. So I'm going to take a very short case study, like an example of how or a very key role that design played. Okay. And then one company I came across was Airbnb. Now, Airbnb happens to be a very fast growing company. I think it was established somewhere in the early 2010s, like probably a decade ago or something. And then in 2014, the company took a very bold step in redesigning their websites and mobile apps. And then surprisingly, okay, this new design simplified the whole point of the redesign was to simplify the booking process and then ensuring that it makes it easier for each users to find whatever they were looking for on the platform. So with this, they had a design goal in mind, and definitely they had undergone some user research. Okay, so after redesigning their website and mobile app, they realized that the Airbnb's rebranding efforts resulted in a whopping 30% increase in user engagement and then a 20% increase in bookings. That means at the end of the day, these guys found a very smart way of ensuring that money in has been increased, that is by the customers, and then the money out that was invested into the project was reduced. And then at the end of the day, customers were super happy with the product. So that is um, quite pretty um, much on business of design. So then I'll move straight to my subtopic, which is design presentation. Okay. So when it comes to design presentation, there are a few key things to keep in mind. Firstly, it's very important to create a compelling narrative that takes an audience on a journey. So you need to explain why the design is important. I've bolded this here because it's very, very crucial. So then as designers, we need to explain why our designs are important, what problem it solves, and how it will improve the user experience. Okay, how it will improve the user experience. So there may be instances whereby we are giving design tasks, okay, because we are technically skilled or because we have a lot of experience under our belt, we actually go on to design intuitive products, like very cool and clean products with great user experiences and all, right? But at the end of the day, if you are not able to communicate your design or to present your design in a compelling manner to convince your stakeholders and probably other teammates on the call, trust me, your design is going to be trash. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us have faced this this problem before, whereby you felt, oh, you spent hours and hours and hours making a design, making iterations, and you finally submitted it, and then it was trashed. Maybe, who knows, your design might have been the best approach or like the very best thing to go with. But because you're not able to present it in a compelling manner, your audience or your stakeholders were not able to buy into the idea. Okay. So then one thing we should also know or we should keep at the back of our minds is that design is not just about creating pretty things. It's not just about creating pretty websites or cool interactions or cool animations or even making very nice illustrations. It's a very crucial point of any business. Trust me. Just like how I demonstrated earlier with a balance scale, without design, I'm not sure the customer needs and then the business goals are going to be met because it is very important to communicate the value of your design thinking process to business stakeholders and then create a compelling narrative when presenting design ideas. So then, by doing so, we can create products and services that meet the needs of our users and then help the company achieve its goals. Okay, so then also with this screen, so I have here a project I worked on quite a couple of years ago, and then based on the design presentation. So when I presented these screens, surprisingly, majority of the stakeholders on the call opted for the far right. That's if I could highlight it, yeah, this one, the one with the illustration and then without the text. And then they were like, "Oh, it's minimalistic and it's simple," and they gave their reasons, okay. But then um I buttressed my point, saying that these two should be chosen. Why? Because based on certain engagements with some of the users who were eventually going to use the app, they felt that using real world images for the onboarding screens triggered some sort of cognitive connection when they opted to whenever they decided to sign up, because they could easily relate with real world images whilst they are onboarding the platform, and they felt, oh, if they are onboarding the platform and they probably see images of cars being fixed or humans happy or smiling with what has been portrayed, they were definitely going to go with this idea. Okay. And then, so at the end of the day, even though the stakeholders and then the other teammates opted for the far right, which was this one, I was able to combat them with a more compelling reason because I had engaged a couple of users and then we knew what the users actually wanted. So at the end of the day, this design was accepted and then it was implemented. So then, for today's session, I'm really going to be open to quite a lot of questions. So I wouldn't really like to bother you guys. So yeah, I would like to leave the platform open so that if there are any questions, I would be glad to provide answers. Thank you very much, Iwamaka, for having me. So if there are any questions, I would like to have them and then I would answer.
Okay. Hi, Andrews. I think I have one question here, so I'll put it
Sure.
here on your screen.
Okay.
So I believe, can you see the question? It's on your screen.
Okay, so it says, sounds like the CEO should be having that conversation with the company's business analyst and not the designer. Isn't retaining customers isn't retaining customers should supposed to be brainstormed by analysts? I don't know if I get his Emmanuel's question right, but it sounds like the CEO should be having that conversation with the company's business analyst and not the designer. So in this case, right, um, before the design is shipped out or the product is shipped out, the designer, should I say, has is the key, or should I say the major role player when it comes to satisfying the needs of customers, or let me say, make ensuring that customers are happy or customers are interacting with the product. If the designer should come up with a very poorly designed product, it's going to churn away a lot of users, and users are not even going to download the platform in the first place. And with this, the CEO or the stakeholder has to have this conversation with the designer so that um, every product that is designed, right, has the the notion in mind that we are doing this design to ensure that money is being brought in, that is money in by the customers, and then the money being invested into the product is being minimalized. So I don't know if that answers my question, Emmanuel. If that answers your question, please can you give us some tips on ways you can present a design decision to our stakeholder to be considered and most likely implemented on? Okay, so most diary says the designer needs to implement all design processes to make a product that would keep making customers never leave or changes. Exactly. Yes. Yes. So with this, that was what I mentioned earlier, that it is actually the responsibility of the designer, or with designers, right? We have been handed this responsibility of ensuring that even though our stakeholders have got business objectives, our customers also at the end of the day want to be happy using the product or subscribing to the service of the product. And then you find a designer in between this balance scale who now has to make intuitive and clean designs which would make users happy as well as ensuring that the design meets business objectives. Yeah. So thank you, Mo's Diary. Yeah. So there's Jerry. Imamaka, I think we can move to the next question.
Yes, I just
Okay.
did. This next question here.
Okay. So Jerry Essen says, can you give us tips or ways we can present a design decision to our stakeholder to be considered and most likely implemented on? Okay, Jerry. Okay, so that's a very good question. So Jerry, like just like the one I showed over here, right? One thing that I've noticed, I mean, probably based on my, I wouldn't say so much of experience, but quite some amount of experience is that whenever you are trying to convince stakeholders to go with your design decision, you would always have to buttress it with a point, or let me say facts, or um things that, let me say, hold water. So probably it could be a design principle like white spacing, probably rule of thirds or something. So you should have like tried and tested principles which have already been laid down. So then whenever you are making a point, you are like, okay, so based on so and so principle, it would be best to go with this because users are going to um, prefer this because it has a lot of white spaces, because the visual hierarchy is on point, or because of or this and that. So in my case, like this, the stakeholders wanted to go with this, with the design on the far right, because they felt it was simple. I mean, that was what they thought. But I also buttressed that. I counted that point by saying that I happened to engage with this app was supposed to be used by mechanics. So I actually reached out to a couple of mechanics and then I showed them the two interfaces, which ones are they going to prefer? And then surprisingly, they chose the ones they could connect with. Okay. And if you should have such a fact behind your point, at the end of the day, it is not the stakeholder sitting in his office who is going to use the service. Okay, it is the people out there, the users, who are going to be using the service. So then I would advise you to probably try and find some facts, okay, to buttress your point. It can be design principles, it can be user engagement, user research, or something. Just give them something that holds water. Yeah,
All right. Thank you so much, Andrew. There are no questions for now on the chat. So I would go ahead to say, guys, if you have any more questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat session. Also, on your screen, I have Andrew's LinkedIn handle being displayed, so you can connect with him on LinkedIn as well. And also, I'll be dropping that link in the chat. So, if guys, go ahead and do that. Then, meanwhile, you have about roughly a minute to drop your questions. So, we're giving you a 2 minute interval. Go ahead and drop your questions. So, thank you so much, Andrew, for coming on this session and for sharing your knowledge with us.
sure. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, so we're just giving, we have 1 more minute to go.
Sure.
Let's just wait for any other questions before we can call it a night or morning or evening. I don't know what time it is.
Take the
So
question.
I have another question on the screen right now, Andrew.
Okay. Okay, so Emmanuel says, in the real world, I think a product is enjoyed by the users based on the value of the service offered by the product compared to the UI of it. Okay, so Emmanuel, so I'm going to give you an instance, right, whereby Airbnb, right, was an already established company, okay, a very like brilliant startup which secured a very huge amount of funding. Okay. And the value proposition then did not change because as at then their business model was a very groundbreaking one because initially before people could purchase properties or before people could get places to stay, they actually had to hustle, like go to a lot of paperwork and I mean go to a lot of stress. But then Airbnb proposed a model whereby now people have um, spaces in their rooms or outlets which they can actually rent, right? And then in return get money. So that was the value proposition, and it was a groundbreaking one because now people with 5 bedroom houses felt that okay, now we can actually outlet 3 of our rooms in exchange for probably $20,000 a month. Okay, so people actually subscribe to that business model, and they were making some, I mean, cool um, amounts of cash, I should say. But then over here, you could see that the what caused a major, a major groundbreaking or a major breakthrough for Airbnb was their efforts to redesign their website. Okay, if the value proposition never changed, the business model never changed. It was still the same business model. They were still offering the same value. Rent your probably some rooms in your house, get an amount of money, same value proposition, same business model. But they went a step further because they realized that the booking processes of these the booking processes on their website was very cumbersome. Probably it was too long or the steps were too many or something. So they took a very bold step to redesign their website and then their mobile app. And you can see with the figures and facts, it caused a 30% increase in user engagement. It also caused a 20% increase in their bookings. So yes, the value was still being proposed out there. The value never changed, but the UI, or yes, the whole user experience and user interface of the website and the products change, which we can see clearly that the figures. I mean, the figures speak for themselves. So yeah, so the value does not change, but trust me, investing in your UI and your user experience matters a lot more than you can imagine. Yeah. So I think the next question, in Wamaka, or work with. Please, if we are then to make a redesign for your company, more like an assignment, case study, or just to practice, we are limited to the data we have. Would it be okay to make some assumptions? So this is a very tricky one. This is a very tricky one. So yes, so at the end of the day, it actually depends on your target audience or those who are going to use the app. So if you know that probably it's just an assignment, I think it will be fair to make certain assumptions. But if let's say it's a hospital app and then you know it's going to be used by doctors or people in the health industry, trust me, you can't afford to make assumptions. With such systems, it would be best to go to the field to engage users, to engage the health workers, to understand their design processes, okay, and then you factor all that into making your design decisions. So yeah, when it comes to probably certain critical situations, I think it would be best to get to the field and then engage um, the users of the app. But then for assignments, yeah, it would be fair to make assumptions. Yeah, I feel like there's so much pressure on designers. Exactly. So it's what Chidima, is it Chidima blessing? Yes, it's not so much of a pressure. So why is it the designer's duty to make sure money comes in instead of the managers or marketers? So Catherine, a very good point raised, but I mean during my presentation I mentioned that um you as the duty of the designer is to ensure that the product he is designing, okay, at the end of the day, it's going to be so intuitive that it meets business goals and it also satisfies the needs of customers. Okay, so yes, you can make the designs, and trust me, the way um, the tech the technology sector works, after the designer has designed the product, yes, definitely it would have to be properly marketed by digital marketers in the company. A lot of work would have to go in it, but all the hype, if the digital marketers hype the app on social media, on Twitter, on a lot of platforms, and then people now go and download the app and they're like, ah, so is this what the hype is all about? In fact, the user interface is so poor. Then they start rating you poorly on, on Play Store um, or on Apple Store. All these go against your company. So at the end of the day, the hype has to be worth it, and whatever you are designing has to fulfill the needs of users, and it has to be clean enough for users to use. Yeah, I feel like there's still pressure on designers. True. What is the work of a product designer? How interesting questions. I think we can move on to the next question. I feel like there's so much pressure on designers. To some extent, yes, to some extent. So, what is the work of a product designer, and how is it different from a UI/UX designer? This is a very good question as well. So, to the best of my knowledge, product designer, you are more involved with product decisions. Okay, you are you are more involved with your stakeholders. So you are more concerned about the conception of the product to um to the shaping of the product or to the product is launched. And even after the product is launched, you are still responsible for maintenance. That means, okay, the product has been launched. How many users are we getting per month? How many users are being retained per month? How many users are we losing per month? What can we do to ensure that um, we are not losing users or we are gaining more users? All these things are responsibility of a product designer. But then for UI UX designers, once again, to the best of my knowledge, I would say that they are not so much um, involved in the aftermath of um, the products being launched. So probably the UI UX designer, okay, he gets he most majority of the time, once again, to the best of my knowledge, UI UX designers are not even involved in the conception of the product because probably they just get the user requirements from system analysts and then they start designing and then they question whatever they want to question. But with the product designer, he is involved in major stakeholder meetings and even after the product has been launched, he's still involved to ensure that the product actually reaches like the desired outcome. Yeah. So that would be my differentiation. Yeah. So the next question. Manuel says he has a lot of questions. Sure. So in a situation where you present your designs to stakeholders and you notice they went for the designs that might not give the users best experience, do you advise them? Very good question, Emmanuel. Yes. So with such a dicey situation, hmm, so once again, um, the decision to either reject or accept your design decision ma- majority of the time is based on how you present the design solution to the stakeholders. So to some extent, right, if you're able to prove to the stakeholders that okay, so with my design solution, if well implemented, right, is going to increase user sign-ups by let's say 20%. Okay, why? Because you took the extra effort to engage with. So let's say you are making let me just give a scenario right now. So let's say you are designing a mobile app for students, okay, and then probably you know how students interact with products, you know how students work. You don't go to the let me say marketplace or you don't go to the hospital to go and engage or obtain user requirements. Okay, so you engage students who are around you either on campus, and then you get their their requirements, and after you get all these requirements, you go and make your design decisions. You make the app, After you are done with the design, you have to go back to these students. You probably make a prototype or something, then you give it to them to try and interact with the product. How intuitive was it? Was it easy to sign up? What problems did you face? Do you like the UI? So you probably have to conduct this with probably close to 5 to 10 of your mates, and then you get very relevant feedback. So once you are presenting this to your stakeholders, you can tell them that okay, so after you made the design, or after you designed it in Figma, after you prototyped it, you actually took the extra step to engage the target audience, which are students, and then you sort out their should I say their opinions, or yes, or their take on what you have designed, and you have the stats, or you have the responses to prove that they liked what you had done. And at the end of the day, it is students who are going to be using the app, and not your CEO sitting in his office. So if you're able to convince him or her that, I mean, the target audience at the end of the day are actually happy with your design decision, I think it should be much of, I mean, a selling point to make. Yeah. And then as if you have some design principles to buttress your point, fair enough. That is also good as well. Yeah. So the next question, I feel like, so even if a designer contributes his 2 cents to retaining customers, why does it sound like it is role to retaining users on the business? If I was a business analyst, I'd feel on the on unemployed or something. So no, Emmanuel. So the business analyst does not have to feel on. I don't know what word is that, but probably you try to say unemployed. But the business analyst does not have to feel unemployed. Okay, like I said earlier, customer has a need. Designer, the designer is in the middle of ensuring that at the end of the day, a customer is happy. The stakeholders are also happy, right? He designs intuitive products, okay, which at the end of the day, when users interact with the product, they wouldn't want to leave the app, or they wouldn't want to leave the system. They wouldn't want to leave the website or whatever product it is. Okay. So when a business analyst should come into this picture, okay, when a business analyst should come into this picture, he he does not have to feel unemployed, because he has had his role to play. Okay, he has had his role to play, and probably after the designer has done his part by probably designing intuitive products, and thereby increasing like the downloads on the Play Store or something, the business analyst has his role to play by making sure that okay, so with this product that we've launched, probably for the first 3 months, this was the outcome. For the last 3 months, this was the outcome. What design decision can we make? So the if even if you should think about it critically, the business analyst would have to work hand in hand with the designer, okay, to ensure that at the end of the day, whichever product is being shipped to the market, it is going to benefit the business at the end of the day. Yeah, exactly. So, again, because you're the medium where you can select the flat price and extra service provided. More usually. Exactly. So, Airbnb created a medium where you can shortlist your flat for a price. That's an extra service provided, giving giving Airbnb more users value. Isn't it the value that attracted users compared to UI? Okay, hmm. Yeah, I wanted to answer Emmanuel's question with the Airbnb thing. So yes, so even if like you said, the Airbnb guys are offering value, at the end of the day, your value proposition, like I said, is very evident. Okay, now we've come to the platform. We know that with Airbnb, you are so good at giving us, let me say, rooms to sleep in, or like you are so good at providing us with available rooms in our vicinities whereby we can lodge. But like I said, if the user faces challenges when he's trying to book for an apartment, trust me, he's going to close the browser or close the website and be like, I just want to book an appointment for one night. Why is the booking process so long? Why is it that the sign up or the submit button is located at the top left? Because I know usually it's supposed to be right beneath probably the pricing button or something. So when your UI is misplaced, trust me, your value proposition might be clear, but whenever users try to access the value you are providing, they get churned away because your UI is very poor and your user experiences, I mean, I don't know, very poor. So trust me, your value proposition might be very solid. Yes, you do what you do best, but on your website, it's not reflecting what you claim like to be offering. That is, if you claim to offer so much value, then why don't you rather invest in building an intuitive UI or a user experience, and then we would actually use your website. Yeah. So the next question. Oh, yeah, past time. An example ringing in my head as I consider your questions as manual is of a restaurant regardless of the analysis done by a business analyst if the food and enticing they won't sell. An example ringing in my head after considering your questions, Emmanuel, is of a restaurant regardless of the analysis done by a business analyst. If the food isn't enticing, they won't sell. Exactly. Exactly. So the business analyst can do all his hard work. He can draw very strategic plans as to when to probably launch the product, which month of the year is best for such a product. He can do all his research. But if after all the hype, people are like, okay, wow, we really like the hype going on. Now we go to the app store, we download your product, and then even your sign up process, we, we are not we are not seeing the head and tail of where it's it's going, and I mean that can be very frustrating for users. Okay, so yeah, you might attract customers, but trust me, your UI and your user experience game has to be spot on. Exactly. Thank you very much, Moyo. Sorry for your input. Yeah. So they won't sell because the cook or UI didn't have a good job. So they won't sell because the cook or UI designer didn't do a good job. But if the users didn't have a problem with the site, they don't say at that point whose fault. So you see, that is why the whole point of this presentation was to emphasize on the role that UI designers or UIX designers play. So that means that for you to even call yourself a UI UX designer in the first place, your UI game must be spot on. Like you have to know what you're about and you have to know what you are doing. Because if, like I said, your UI game is poor, at the end of the day, users are going to turn away from your product. Users are not going to use your product. So this whole presentation was emphasized on the need of UI designers being good at what they do and ensuring that at the end of the day, customers are delighted, customers are super happy, customers are are elated to visit the website or use the product, as well as ensuring that business objectives are being met. Yes.
Okay. So that's the last question we have here. That's a lot of questions. So, all right, guys. Okay. We still have another contribution.
Yeah. Still the designer. So now that's a big problem, and the company will tackle and still on the designer would still go back to the design. Remember the design process exactly. So there will be iterations here and there. Yeah. Hmm.
So yes, so that's a lot. So thank you so much, Andrew. You have answered a lot
Yeah.
of questions tonight. Did
Yeah.
expect
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
All
No
right.
problem.
So thank you for your time here tonight. Thank you for being as honest and straightforward as possible and giving your possible answers.
Yeah.
So it's
You're
great having
welcome.
you tonight.
Bye, sure.
All right, guys. So I have Andrew's LinkedIn handle being displayed on the screen. So do go ahead and connect with him on LinkedIn. I also have his Andrew dropped in the chat, so you can scroll up and also connect with him on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, everyone, for being on this call. Remember, your Q&A session is for 9 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you once again, Andrew.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for your time. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye, Andrew. So bye, everyone. See you tomorrow.